Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shields. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.
Hello, welcome to Toronto Bible Study. We have our special guest, Layman Seminary and Peaceful Banana are here. And we have another gentleman coming on in a minute. He's going to help us talk about, we're just going to talk some different views of eschatology. But I guess everybody here is a futurist, so I guess maybe we'll just cover futurism today, and then maybe we can cover some other things in the future. But I'm not sure where this discussion is going to go.
Yeshua is salvation, send the link.
All right. So what do you guys think about eschatology? You guys are both premillennial, pre-tribulation futurists, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So, all right. So what's okay. I don't even know where to start with this. Okay. Let's start with Matthew 24, shall we?
Yeah.
How about that? All right.
I would prefer a PB goes first every time, at least whenever it's us two. Okay. Because if he gets it, if he says it the way it needs to be said, then I don't need to say anything. So
good. Sure. All right.
But I would say I would just start off by saying I'm partial preterist for Matthew 24, which just means that I think that there's partial fulfillment in 70 AD and the ultimate fulfillment in the future. So it can go both ways, and a lot of other dispensations are like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think partial. Hi, by the way, Yeshua's Salvation. Our buddy James here. He's here joining us. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So partial preterism is like the most popular view, I would guess, right? Like most people think that he's partially talking about 70 AD and partially talking about the future, right? But with this one, I don't know. Some partial preterists will say that he's talking about the destruction of the temple up to a certain verse here. Let's say verse 9. Some people, right? And then after that, then he's talking about the end of the world. But what do you think about that, PB? How would you break it down?
I mean, I would. It really starts off in like verse 3, although because it says in verse 2, right? See not all these things, verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So again, a lot of partial preterists, they would say that this to a certain point is about Jerusalem. And
Yeah,
like,
because it sounds like certainly it's about the destruction of the temple, right?
yeah.
But what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that it is like it's about like a localized view of it with the because of course none of this like Revelation and Matthew 24 doesn't really make sense. I think if you take it as all in the like if you're an amillennialist or even a full preterist, then it doesn't really make sense like what could be
Yeah.
correlated, and that's where I think like it ends.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I'm kind of a futurist too, but I'm not 100% sure because it's so complicated. It's so difficult to figure it all out. But yeah, I agree that there's certain things in this passage that it's hard to reconcile that with a preterist view, right? Like why does Jesus come with his throne? When did that happen in 70 AD? You know what I mean, or things like that, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Or James, are you a futurist too? Or what's your
Yeah,
view?
I think they're talking about. I think that it's both in this verse. I think the beginning he's talking about the temple in 70 A.D. and then you have to remember. So basically, John came years after the early guys, and then you kind of have to use like Matthew, Mark, and Luke kind of as like a bridge to Revelations because you got to figure they came after the early guys. John did. So I
Okay.
definitely think.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the early disciples, you got to figure John came years after them. So I definitely think the part of the verse is talking about 70 AD. And then you got to figure this was on the, there was only, 4 disciples there that were asking him about this. It was Aaron, John, and, I'm drawing a blank. Who are the other 2? And they were asking him about the future, basically. So the second half, I believe, is about the future. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. He says, all right. So
Yeah.
he says these
Can I,
things. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be a jerk and say that I don't think it's referring to 70 AD in Matthew. I mean, maybe it is.
Not at all.
I
None of it whatsoever.
No, I just mean, because everybody's agreeing. Luke 21, I think is more 70 AD focused.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah, I hear you.
I'm going to take the argument that Matthew 24 is not talking about 70 AD. But 70 AD does foreshadow it, but I don't think that's what's in view in the passage.
Okay, but what about this thing with the temple, the stones being thrown down? What's that?
Well, the temple's going to be destroyed in the future as well.
Okay, but it says these things, right? Like these stones, these buildings, this temple.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right here. Yeah. So he asked like 3 questions here. And so it depends how you count them. And some people say he answered them in reverse order. And so that's one of the issues about it. So when shall these things be, and what should be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Right. So the issue is, a lot of times Jesus' teaching is triggered by something that he says, and they ask a question or a certain situation. So if you back up, why are they? Why they're praising the temple, right? Basically, Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the building of the temple, the buildings of the temple.
Right.
Why are the disciples showing him the temple, the buildings of the temple?
Right. It seems like they're praising it. Yeah. I mean, I think from Luke we see that wait, what does this say? The goodly stones and gifts, so it sounds like it sounds like they're praising it, how beautiful it is or something like how rich it is or something. But
Herod made it bling. It was lots of stuff going on there. So the thing is they're proud about it. But why are they telling him?
Mhm.
Is this an implication that they're recognizing him as the Messiah? I mean, Matthew 16's already happened. Thou art Christ, the Son of God. And so he's like, your temple is amazing, or your father's temple is amazing. Look, Israel in her glory. Let's get the kingdom going right now. You know?
Right. Okay, okay. Oh, okay. So they're asking him to start it now, and he says, "Okay, no. This whole temple is going to be destroyed." And then they say, "Tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?"
So
This is
the issue is he
Go ahead.
tells them about the destruction of the temple,
Mhm.
and so he can talk about the destruction of the temple, which relates to 70 AD, but the end of the world is a separate issue.
Right. This is why, yeah. So this is the thing. So when he says, "Okay, tell us when shall these things be," so the way I've always read it is like this is about the destruction of the temple, and then this is the further discussion that he's going to have at the end of the thing, right? So then the question is, I mean, I guess in most people's mind, but you may have a different view, Layman, or somebody else. But
Well, I want PB
question,
to interact more, so
okay,
I'll chill.
okay. But the question is, so the question is for me, like to me, it's like okay, he's going to answer this question in my mind first, and then the other questions later. So where does he stop answering the first question, and where does he carry on into the other questions? You know. And one
Well,
person was here the other day saying that it stopped at verse 9 or verse 10 or something. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say, PB?
well, that's the thing. I think that you would have to read up until I think about verse 13 to see like, okay, where exactly is he stopping? And then he's talking about the sign of his coming, because the sign of his coming is a completely separate issue, right? Because I'm pre-trib, I believe that the second coming, when he actually comes with great power and glory, is separate from when he gathers the church, right? And so in that regard, when it goes down into Matthew 24, 29, and 30, that is like that would be the sign of his coming, basically, when the skies are darkened and all that stuff. So
so when he gathers the elect, what's this? That's the end of the tribulation. Is that what that is?
Yeah, I would say that's the end.
So who's the elect?
I would just say that that's like believers at that time. I know some people would say like it's Israel, but technically you would have to be a believing Israelite to even be one of the elect there. So
Yeah. I actually think it's the elect. The elect are the ones who endure unto the end. So it's not just every believer, but it's the ones that who endure, because only they will actually survive. You know, he that endure unto the end shall be saved. So that everyone else who doesn't endure unto the end, they get destroyed, and then these ones are the ones who where was it again? The one about the elect.
Would you say they're the sheep in the judgment, and the sheep and the goats?
Yeah. The sheep. Yeah. The elect are the sheep. Yeah, exactly. The elect are the sheep. Exactly. And the sheep are the goats.
Yeah, there's one view. There's one view of this verse where they say that he's talking to the Jews that'll be here in the end times, because the Christians will already have been raptured, and that's one belief of this verse.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very common belief as well. I mean,
yeah, I don't believe the term elect is referring to the church in that passage. I don't believe it's referring to salvation.
Okay. So you're saying the elect here is the Jews, or
No,
what?
I'm saying it's tribulation saints, or the sheep during the tribulation, the people that get saved during the tribulation.
Right. So anybody.
So James, you're not pre-trib, is that correct?
I wrestle with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That trib's one of the hardest things to lock down. There's so many passages that could go both ways for a trib.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm right in the middle. I don't really lean either way. I know it's going to happen, but I'm I mean, there's verses that you could say it would be pre, and then there's verses like in Revelations that you could make it look like it's post. So that's where I am with it. I'm not sure if I'm being 100% honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to be honest, I don't really know 100%, but I do think I'm more sympathetic to pre-trib.
Yeah.
But then some of the arguments I'm not really sure about either, because they tend to think most of the pre-tribbers will argue that it's about the Jews. So the elect are the Jews. And so they'll often go to this section here in the
Well,
previous
I
chapter,
wouldn't.
right?
I wouldn't
ahead.
say that they're just the Jews, because you see that you got the 144,000, and I do take that number literal, and then you got the great multitude, and then so the remnant of those that survive, like you're saying, would be considered the sheep, because you got to be alive to be a sheep to go into the kingdom,
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that's the thing about the Matthew 25 thing is there's no dead there. You don't say anything about the dead. You don't say anything about the books being opened or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be the same thing as Revelation 20. So, but he is coming in his glory. He is sitting on his throne of his glory, and the nations are gathered. He shall separate them one from another as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. So, yeah, I tend to think that this is some kind of reference to all saved people who actually endure unto the end. They survive, and then they are the sheep.
Well, there's also an important thing to consider there, because I think when Jesus references what you have done to the least of these my brethren, I would take it as when the Israelites are in the wilderness, because it says in Matthew 24:16 that they're going to flee into the wilderness. When those people are there, they're going to be naked, they're going to be hungry, they're going to be without water, and that's why those specific works are mentioned. Because if you the way to endure to the end, so to speak, in this time period is where you actually help like those Jewish people, Jesus's brethren, so to speak.
Right. That's another thing. Yeah, the brethren, right? The brethren. So many people will say that he's referring to the Jews. So these nations, then, PB, in your opinion, these nations that are gathered, they don't include the Jews. Is that what you're saying, or what do you mean?
Yeah, the word there can also be ethnos. It can be translated
Ethnos.
Gentiles, right?
Right.
And in Ezekiel 20, it also references a different judgment where if you pass under the rod, then you will enter the kingdom, right? I think it's Ezekiel 20:33-38. It's very important because it's a very similar judgment here for the Jewish nation.
Yeah, and it links to Ezekiel 34 also.
As I live, saith the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered with a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the Lord God. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. And I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am the Lord. So purge you from among the rebels that transgress against me. So he's only going to save those that are like believing in Jesus. Is that the idea, or what do you think?
Yeah, it would just be like only the believers are going to enter if they transgress against it, because he's going to plead with them, to believe in him, right? Like Jesus says in Matthew 23, I would have gathered you into my arms, but you were not willing. Right, and so that's kind of the idea here.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I agree
what's
with
this
that.
covenant? That's interesting. What's this covenant?
Yeah, the new covenant.
So they are okay. So the Jews are going to be brought into the new covenant. Is that what you're saying? That's for
Yeah.
salvation, or what's the new covenant?
No, they're
all about?
already saved. They're already saved because they get saved through the two witnesses, the 144,000, whatever like that. And then by that time, they're already believers. And then whenever the kingdom starts, there's a new constitution and there's a new enablement going on. And so that's what that's referring to.
Hmm.
So it's
So
sanctification.
okay,
It's
okay, okay,
experiential.
okay. So what is the new covenant in your view?
In my view, I take a very typical approach. I believe that the new covenant spiritual blessings, they can be, ministered to the church. But as for like the geopolitical stuff, and the land grants in Genesis 12 and 15, those are specifically to the believing Israelites. And so and that's so that they can receive the full benefits of what the Mosaic covenant promised, but they couldn't keep it, right?
The only other thing that I would add to that is while Israel remains a party of the covenant, Gentiles are the beneficiaries also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
so the Gentiles are never a party of the new covenant, but they are beneficiaries.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I've heard this idea before. So we don't actually enter into the covenant, but we are beneficiaries of the covenant. And this is like part of the Abrahamic promise. Is that the idea, or what is it?
Well, as PB said, we're experiencing the spiritual blessings right now of the new covenant because Jesus Christ is administering them as high priest. But he's not, in our view, he's not ruling as king yet over the kingdom, and that will be in the future. So yeah, PB said it right.
Okay. So in your view, then the rapture is already taking place by the time this stuff happens, or what?
Yeah, I believe that the church is not in view here. I think this
Okay.
is tribulation saints.
Right.
Yep.
The heathen
There are some pre-trib people that view the rapture in Matthew 24. I don't I don't think it's consistent. Maybe one day I'll get to that, but for right now, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, I don't see it here either, but yeah, I can, and I'm sympathetic to the idea that it's already taken place, because then the people in Matthew 25. This is the thing. The reason why I'm sympathetic to you guys' view, the only real reason is because of Matthew 25, because
Yeah.
of these people here. Because it's hard to
Yeah, the wise
explain
and
how are
foolish
they
versions aren't the church.
right. The foolish virgins. So who are the foolish virgins in your view?
Oh, I would just people that are not walking in sanctification and prepared of the tribulation saints.
Right.
It's
So
not an issue about who's saved and not saved.
right. Yeah, so they're tribulation saints. All the virgins are tribulation saints, but some of them are wise.
I just lost my sound.
No, we can hear you. Oh, you can't hear us? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's back.
Oh, okay. So right. So the virgins here, they're all saved, but they're tribulation saints, or are they? Are they okay? They're just tribulation saints, whether they're Jews or Gentiles, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
And-
as to interpretation, it's probably Israel, but I think secondary application, it's fine to say that it applies.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, but yeah, there are people who would say, yeah, these are all just Jews, right?
Yeah.
And then what about this one, the other parable here? So these people with the talents,
Right.
they're also tribulation saints, and
Yeah.
some of them, they're kind of like the foolish virgin. They hid their talents, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing is all about preparation. Serve the Lord, invest, be a good steward, because you believe that He's coming and you're going to be given an account, and you have a short time to minister, at least in this
Okay.
capacity, before things change.
Right. So, and what about this? What about this parable at the end of 24? Um, Blessed is that servant. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season. So, are these people tribulation saints as well? The
I think
servants
that's
here?
a more of a general principle. What
I see.
it's explaining to you is, well, let's look at it. Go to the verse right before that, 44. Therefore, you also be ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man cometh. So,
Right.
okay, so he's saying you need to be prepared. You need to be a faithful and wise servant. You know, that's essentially what he's saying.
Mhm. Who's the ye here? Who's the ye? Because obviously he's talking to his disciples, but we're futurists, or we're addressing a futurist concept here, right? So who's the ye? Who's he
Well,
talking to here?
as to strict interpretation, yeah, it's the disciples, but the book of Matthew, I believe, was written to the church to explain why the millennial kingdom was not established yet, you know, and so therefore I would say it has secondary application for the audience to understand. Look, you're going to be held accountable, you know, and this is in harmony with Old Testament prophecy. A lot of times a prophet will tell something that's going to happen in the future, and but the prophet wants them to apply the principles now,
Right.
because in light of
Right.
what's going to happen in the future, this is how your conduct should be, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's
uh
true.
and so I don't think that's a violation, you know, to do that.
Okay. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The portion here is the inheritance, right? Like, it's not like they're gonna go to hell, but what do you
Yeah,
think? Sorry.
yeah, well, PB and I are going to differ on this part, I think. But what I want to say is this, is that some people think, oh, the church has got to go through the tribulation because that's the only way the church is going to be purged and be faithful. No, there's going to be drug use, killing, murder, demonic activity all over the place. And some people, they're going to say, man, you know, they're going to get complacent, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're not
true.
gonna have all correct doctrine and all that stuff. So this is a description of what can happen while in the midst of waiting for the Lord to return. What and it can happen, you know, in the church as well.
I
But
see, I see, I
but
see. Okay, so
let's
this
see
is
if
about the
PB.
church. Oh, go
No,
ahead, go ahead.
it's not about the church. But remember, the principle, therefore you also be ready, is being applied to the audience that's written in the church.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah. But
Well,
PB, you take this as referring to unbelievers, right?
actually, I in this passage here in Matthew 24, I take it as talking about believers. I even take it the
Okay.
same way in Luke 12, because I don't think it's
Okay.
unbelieving. I think it's unfaithful. So,
Right.
I think it's a
Right.
similar concept. And I mean, because I think weeping and gnashing of teeth, I think it can apply to believers and unbelievers, right? You can have
Mhm.
that regret that you could have had, like, oh man, I was hypocritical, and now I'm gonna feel shame. Something like First John
Right,
2.
Okay.
So,
right, yeah, I
Cool.
agree. But what
cut him
is
asunder.
cut him
You know,
asunder? Yeah,
you know how
it's like
like
a verbal.
people say, oh, I got a tongue lashing last night.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
very like, I mean, Jewish people are very like strong with their language sometimes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, he says cut him asunder, but I mean, he's not going to cut an unbeliever asunder like when he
Yeah.
comes down at that point. you know.
Right.
I agree.
You even called it a parable or an illustration, you know.
Yeah,
So
it's a
yeah.
parable. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what's the portion then?
The Greek word is emeros.
Yeah,
Yeah, that word is
yeah,
used a lot of times for like inheritance or share.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you guys on most of these things, except I guess the only thing we differ on is, or maybe I don't even know if we differ right now, but I guess I never saw it so focused on the Jews as some people do, or as you seem to. Like, but you may be right. Like, I understand based on Matthew 23 at the end there, how you might say that. Like,
Therefore,
you
your
know what's
house is left
interesting?
to you desolate until you
Yeah,
say,
right.
"Blessed is the coming name of the Lord." Yeah.
Right. And then also this gathereth, the gathereth is the same word as the gather when the angels gather the elect.
Mhm.
This is the
Yeah.
same word, right?
Yeah.
And
I think so.
episynago,
Synagogue.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the word that they use for synagogue, right? So it's
Hmm.
related to that word, right? So the gathering might be something related to Jews, and we know, or most people would agree that Matthew seems to be written to Jews, right? To like Jewish Christians. So I see where you're going with it. So Matthew's writing this book to explain to them why Jesus came, but the kingdom didn't come. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is telling them about that story, right? Okay. I'm trying to figure out. I'm just trying to like. I mean, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate and trying to figure out or look for things that I need you guys to explain about your theory. So I'm just kind of going through here.
Well, what exact theory is sort of like on the fence? Because I mean, we have a similar view of premillennial, futurist, future fulfillment. So I mean, if it's the pre-trib stuff, um,
Well, he's not a dispensationalist. He. That's the issue.
Well, maybe I don't know. The
Oh,
dispensational thing, the fact that the idea that there's some plan for the Jews in the future. I'm not entirely opposed to that idea. So I guess that means I'm a
when do you believe
dispensationalist or
the
something.
when do you believe the church came into existence?
I do agree that it's in Acts chapter 2. Or
Okay.
is that what you would say, or what would you say?
Yes. Yeah. That's my view. So
But does covenant theologians agree with that as well, right? Like I don't think they disagree on that, do
some,
they?
well, no. Typically, what covenant theologians do is they say that it was the same promise, same Savior, and so they basically take the knowledge that we have through progressive revelation and read it into the Old Testament in a lot of places.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, I don't know,
it's, I mean,
but
all right, that's good. I've always kind of skirted that issue with you because I
mhm,
wanted to focus on our common ground and free grace.
mhm.
So you know, and plus I
Do
always
you have
want to
any
get
comments here?
sharper and better for that. Comments,
Oh,
is
we
that
got
what
a
you
ton of
said?
comments. I forgot about the comments.
Okay,
Sorry. Let's
sorry.
see. Okay, so Ditson here. Let's see what
hey,
this is like. Smoky. I must not be subbed. How long has this been going on? The new covenant is Christ defeated Satan, and He is our Savior. Uh, I don't know. Okay, these comments aren't. First started in Acts 9. Oh, this guy's like a Acts.
oh,
What do they call those guys? The Acts 9 people or
mid
whatever.
act.
Mid acts.
Mid Acts. Yeah.
Is he willing to
When
formally
he
debate it?
Oh, yeah,
AV,
he's in the last slide.
AV, are you willing to formally debate
I
this
mean,
position, bro?
I
I think you asked him last slide.
David,
Hmm?
yeah, David Preston is played out, so I need a new mid acts person to debate.
Anyway, okay. So, all right. So, what about, okay, let's talk about pre trib then, man. Because like that's the thing. That's a big thing, right? Where everybody's kind of like saying that. Okay, I think most people, most free gracers are futurists
Yeah.
to some extent, right? But they disagree on this pre-trib rapture business. Okay, that's the
Yeah.
big thing where they often disagree. So, and
I
one of the
just
reasons,
ordered
what you know,
I
what
just ordered a book by a free grace person who's just become pre-trib, I mean post-trib. So it's a scholar that I respect. So I'm going to be evaluating all of that as well.
Hmm. Oh, I think I saw some of that. But did you already start on that on your channel?
No. That's something that one of the guys that watches my channel wanted me to review.
Hmm. Well, okay, so this is the thing where they always try to say that this is the same thing as Revelation 6. So, oh, wait, not this one. Where's the thing about the moon? All right, yeah, this one. So they try to say that this is the same thing as Matthew 6. So they're trying to say that this is basically, or I don't know what exactly the argument is. The argument is that
No.
this is the same as Revelation 6. Oh, sorry, go ahead, PB. You might be able to fill me in.
Well,
PB, you going to deal with it?
so the thing is, right, I think the language of immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, right, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. But
Mhm.
you got to understand that just before this, right, if you go up, I think it talks about a great tribulation, which might be it might be the second half, right? um where is it?
Mm.
And but oh yeah, for then shall be great tribulation. So there's like the first half of it, and it's pretty bad, right? I think
Okay.
like a fourth of the world dies. But
Okay.
then you have like the second half of it, and it's actually worse, right?
Mhm.
So and after those days, right?
Yeah.
And after those days is when the day of the Lord happens, which I would just take that as like the judgment is going to come
Okay.
after that.
Yeah, because what
Sorry,
they
I'm just
do is
kind
they
of.
say they
Okay,
line
go
it
ahead.
up with Revelation. They say, "Look, the sun and moon come dark, and now the coming of Christ." And so they, run it across the different passages and stuff. But Revelation is not fully in chronological order. There's parenthetical statements. There's more involved in the structure than just a straight on. This is talking about the tribulation. And so that's how I address it. Matthew's not focused on this section right here. He's not focusing on the chronological order. He's just
Okay.
focusing on describing the trends that exist. Now, it's true that some of these trends relate to the horsemen and all of that other stuff, but
Mm.
John is trying to be a little bit more meticulous. I think
Mhm.
most of the time when prophecy's brought up, it's mainly
Mhm.
about topic focus. Like for example, John 5. It's talking about the general judgment. It doesn't go into the details of everything else. Part of that, if you're a dispensationalist, you see, well, the church is a mystery. So people describe it like you just see the peaks of the judgment. You don't see the valley and all that stuff. Uh,
Mhm. Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
about
it's
that. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and it's one of the reasons why people have a general judgment theory, because they don't see that the church isn't really there. Like the main focus of this is really not to necessarily talk in this section about like, okay, this is what's going to happen, and then this, and then this. It's really just about like, hey, this is what happens, and you can line it up with some other passages in Revelation, but even Revelation has distinctions in like its chronological order. It actually breaks up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, because the most of the pre-tribbers would say that the church was taken out before we get to chapter 6 in Revelation, right? So they would just say, but then I guess I wish Dit would come on. Dit, you should come on, man, because then we can talk about your view. Because
Yeah,
you start
that would be
researching
cool.
this now.
But I think a passage that a lot of pre-trib people use is Revelation 3 verse 10. I think it's like one of the most hotly debated ones.
Revelation 3. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the one, right? Because
Yeah.
they're saying that the
Because
church
you have
is
kept the
already
word of
gone.
my patience, I will keep you from tribulation, which shall fall on all those that dwell on the earth.
Right.
What translation are you reading, PB?
But this
King
is one
James.
church. This
Well,
is
you
one
forgot the
church's
key
promise,
word.
right?
It's the hour of tribulation.
Oh yeah.
Because Ryrie made the
hour of
argument.
temptation. The hour of temptation. But
Yeah.
is that the same Greek word?
It's thalipsis.
Erasmus?
No, perisma. Okay, yeah. So the issue is that Ryrie argued that the only way to be exempt from the hour is if you are removed from the tribulation. It's not the idea you going through it. He gives the example. He says, let's say I'm giving a test, and I say, because you got a certain grade average, you're exempt. You will be kept from the hour of taking the final. Okay. And so that means you don't show up for class, right?
Yeah.
But if you say, or usually, I mean, that's how people would take it. But if you say you'll be kept from the test, well, that might mean I still have to go to class, but I don't have to take the test. You know, I still have to endure the class. You know.
Oh yeah,
and
You know what? For some reason, my comments aren't going through, so I can't send Dit the invite. Dit, can you see the invite at the top of the comments? If you go up
I'll
a bit in
send
the
it.
comments, you'll see the invite.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
but,
So, go on.
Part of that is the idea, and a lot of post-tribulationists, I mean, they're also covenant theologians because they think Israel is the church in Revelation 7. And so what happens is that they'll say, yeah, you know, the church is going to be kept from wrath. They're going to be sealed, but like they're going to still have to endure it. Like they're still going to be there for the 3.5 years.
Yeah, but the whole tribulation is described as the wrath of God. It's even like that in the book of Daniel.
Yeah, and that's one of my problems. It's like there's really no distinction, but like it's just more wrath. It's not like, okay, this is man's wrath and this is God's wrath. It's like, no, Jesus sets all the seals, so he's the one doing the judgments.
Right.
PB, have you gone through Andy Woods' Rapture series?
I went through a few videos. In fact, I got my 7 pre-trib rapture proofs from him.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Now, what are your pre-trib? Wait. Let's talk about that. So I was thinking about, because I know Andy Woods and people like that, they'll talk about John 14 as this is the rapture, right? And Matthew 24 has nothing to do with the rapture. Nothing to do with it. It's not even addressing.
I think
this,
he's inconsistent.
This is addressing. Pardon?
Yeah. I talked to my peers, people and professors, you know. So far, I'm not sold that John 14 is the rapture. Okay. It might be better to argue that it's the New Jerusalem.
Or what it is. I think that in the context of this and him talking about like the spiritual truths and the Holy Spirit that's going to indwell them, which is his spirit, it might just be like very figurative language, because the word for mansions there is abodes. So he's saying, in my father's house are many abodes. And so
the marriage metaphor of building the house.
Yeah. Right. What's up, Dit?
Yo, can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, good.
So
I'm on my phone, so
okay. No you've been listening, right? So what are you thinking? What's your thoughts on this?
I didn't listen to the last 2 minutes because I was trying to join, but what were you saying?
We're basically, now we're just moving to John 14, talking about how some people suggest this is about the rapture, this first 4 verses of John 14.
Oh, where he says, I will come receive you unto myself.
Right. Receive you unto myself. So, but some people would say this is the New Jerusalem, you know? But what do you think about it?
No, actually, I agree that that is about the rapture, but that doesn't say anything about the timing. So I think that reconciles fine with pre-trib and pre-wrath.
But you're not dispensationalist, right?
I mean, I think I am in the common sense of the term, but
Okay.
not a hyper
Because
dispensationalist.
I mean, Toronto just brought up, people that are dispensationalists that think that the rapture is in John 14. I don't think that, because if I'm going to be consistent, I don't believe that John, because it's talking about a time underneath the Mosaic law, that the church ever existed. It's a mystery. It could not have been revealed, And so
Well,
I don't believe that it's talking about it in 14.
oh, okay. Even if it doesn't, I don't think John 14 is like the primary rapture proof text. It doesn't say
Right,
anything
right,
to prove your position. So
right.
No, that's true. That's true. But the thing what they like about it is because there's no real prophecies about Jesus coming and receiving someone unto himself. It's more like he comes onto the earth and takes over, basically, right? So that's why they suggest this is not about like
Well,
him
receiving you
returning.
to myself could refer to the Bema, because in the
Yeah,
pre-trib view, that's going on during that time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they would probably say too. Like, or they would
Is
suggest
it
that
dekomai right there? Receive can mean welcome if
see,
it's dekomai. No, paralabano.
Paralabano. Hmm. But why do you think it's post trib, or what do you think? What's your position called? Mid trib,
pre-wrath.
pre wrath. All right. So tell us about that. Why do you think that's the case?
Okay, I think
What's
the
your
main,
evidence?
firstly,
Okay,
the
go ahead.
main one is that every single pre-trib proof that people bring up usually actually is a proof for the pre-wrath as well. Like basically, the
Okay.
pre-trib doesn't have a lot of exclusive proof text. That's what I've noticed. So
Agree.
then, under that view, there's an additional proof for the pre-wrath, which is that Revelation 6 to 7 view that I gave you, along
Yeah.
with Matthew 24, which is really strong in my opinion. That's the strongest proof text, and that's basically what opened my eyes to the pre-wrath rapture. I was like, I
Well,
don't know.
why?
Right.
Okay.
You're
Well,
not a you're not a dispensationalist, so that makes sense.
Wait, what do you
well,
mean?
wait. No.
Because in my
You're not
view, Matthew
dispensational.
24 is not
Yeah.
talking about the church.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
that's
talking
So,
about
not.
the Jews.
and neither do I
That,
think Revelation 6 is talking about the church.
how does that have to do with my being dispensational or not?
Because according to dispensationalism, the church doesn't exist underneath the law. So it can't be talking about that.
Is that like
It's not
is
revealed.
dispensationalism like a monolith view? Because I understand there's a distinction between Israel and the
Yeah.
church, and that some truths, some promises are still granted towards the Jewish people, but I don't take that view. So
No, you're asking a good question, and it comes down to understanding about the mystery. So there's some people that believe that you got progressive dispensationalists. They would say the mystery was it was mentioned but not realized, and then you got Acts 2 dispensationalists, typically like Ryrie and others. They would say, "Oh, it didn't even exist at all. It was a mystery based on 1 Corinthians 3 and Colossians 1." And then you got your hyper or ultra dispensationalists or mid acts. They would say the mystery didn't begin until Paul. So either Acts 9 or forward.
okay, so what does that have to do with the rapture?
Well, if the church is what's raptured, if the church is the mystery, then if the church doesn't exist and if it's not talked about, then you can't make a comparison to it.
That's kind of like an inductive line of reasoning. It's not really.
Well, of course it's
That's
inductive. It's
you're
called
like
inductive Bible study.
Wait. Don't go there. Don't go there, please. Everyone's gonna remember the.
according to
You almost thinking of the recording, right?
yeah, according to who? According to an inductive study of the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Let me just ask this. Okay, according to you, this like lines up perfectly with Revelation 6, right? So let's say that's correct.
Yeah.
Why does that imply that the rapture takes place after this or something. Or what is your argument about the rapture regarding this? How does it go ahead?
So firstly, in the beginning of Matthew 24, I think from verses 1 to 29, we see all these events, these precursory events. Bad things are happening, basically. We see the same thing, just assume for the sake of argument, in Revelation 6. The first 6 seals have the exact same phenomenon, like the sun turning dark, stars falling to the earth, war, pestilence, etc. That happens. And then in Revelation 7, we see an innumerable multitude of people just spawn in heaven. Whereas in Matthew 24, we also see him gathering the elect after that event. So they perfectly align in their chronology, you know? It's
So you think
you're saying this is the when these people appear in heaven, that this is the rapture. Okay.
So you think the rapture happens before the opening of the 6th seal?
No, after the 6th.
Okay, so
seal,
after. Okay.
I think after the sun turns dark, basically that's when it happens.
Okay.
It must happen after the abomination of desolation, like 2 Thessalonians 2 says. And when the 8th seal is released in Revelation 8, no, the 7th seal, excuse me, that's when the wrath begins. Because the seals represent like the unleashing. When the last seal is loosed, that's when the wrath begins. That's what it's supposed to figuratively represent, right?
Okay.
That's where we always lean more towards, right there.
Interesting. I do agree that these people are the church, this great multitude. But I've always thought of it as this is like representing, actually these 12 tribes represent, or the 144,000 represents the church. You know? That's the way I think of it. But
like figuratively, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, like there's no literal 144,000 Jews. It's like he hears about the church from the angel, right? The angel starts telling him about these churches, or they're just announcing it, right? And then it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude. So when he says that, right, that's when he turns and looks. He actually sees the thing. So up until then, he's just been hearing about these 12,000. And then when he turns and looks, then he sees the reality. And it's just like in Revelation 5, when he's being told about the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And then it says, and I beheld, and lo. It's the same kind of the same wording, right? And then he sees the reality. It's not a lion, it's a lamb. It's a lamb that's been slain, you know? So that's he hears about one thing, and then he turns and looks, and he sees the reality. So then in Matthew 7, so in Revelation 7, then he hears about the 144,000, then he turns and looks, and he sees the church.
Okay, so each of the tribes represent people of all nations, is what you're saying? Because that would be like the carryover.
Yeah, just basically not that each tribe represents a nation, but just that the tribes of you know what I mean, right? So it's just like a representation. But what do you guys think about that?
Like in terms of the 144,000 being a representation, and then you see, and then the thing about it is, if you actually look at Revelation 7 and the actual tribes mentioned, right? I like you can go up to the top, right? It says of the tribe of, what is it? It starts off in verse
Judah.
4, of the tribe of Judah, of the tribe of Reuben, of the tribe of Gad, of the tribe of Asher, of the tribe of Nephthalim, of the tribe of Manasseh, of the tribe of Simeon, of the tribe of Levi. That's very significant because technically speaking, originally it was 12 tribes, and one of them was Dan, right? And we see that in Genesis 25 to 29. And so really, and so with Levi, the point of Levi was that they were kind of meant to be scattered, but now they're meant to get their full inheritance, right? It's actually a fulfillment of the Old Testament. So this is actually very specific in how it's worded. It's not just, I don't think it's talking about the church here, because it's very precise into what it wants to communicate. That because the Levitical tribe has been replaced by the Melchizedek priesthood, they can now get their full share of the inheritance in the land. Right.
Okay, but then why doesn't Dan get their inheritance? Why? What about Ephraim and Manasseh? What about those guys?
Because Levi in this passage replaces Dan, right? And it's meant to
replaces them. So doesn't Dan get an inheritance? Why don't they get an inheritance? You know,
some people think the Antichrist will come from
Dan.
Well, either way, this doesn't prove the chronology of the rapture. Either way, this supports what I'm saying, whether you think it's symbolic or literal. It just represents the church being raptured at this point. That's what
actually, I think 1 Corinthians 15:50-54 kind of lines up with what he's saying too, about how it talks how we'll be changed after the basically the last trumpet.
I view that as the millennial rapture.
You know what's interesting? The Bible has quantified some very large numbers. Even in Revelation 5, it quantifies 100 million angels. And I think after Revelation 7 or 8, it quantifies like 200 million something. So you can assume that there are more than that amount of people that appear in heaven. That's a lot of people to appear at once, you know?
Yeah.
It's a multitude without number, right?
Yeah, but by the time you get to the midpoint of the tribulation, half the population is cut. So if you had a lot of believers that got saved during the tribulation, then you already know half the population is cut. So that explains why there could be a lot of people there as well.
Well, remember that the rapture also includes those that are dead that get resurrected. But in this view, they all appear at one instance. It's not like they're appearing progressively.
Yeah, I don't think this is the rapture. I think that it's describing those who died during the tribulation. A great multitude dies during the tribulation. Like I said, the population of the earth is cut in half. So if the rapture happened right now, that's 4 billion people. Of course, not all of them are believers, but let's just say that out of those 4 billion people, let's take a a generous number. Let's say 1 billion of those are people that are believers.
1 billion are believers. That's not really a narrow path, but I'll grant you the number.
The narrow path's about discipleship. But regardless of that, it's experiential.
Oh, come on. Also, I think there's context to suggest that these people are literally bodily resurrected, because it says they're clothed in white robes. Unless you think that's figurative as well, but I don't.
No, they get resurrected. You're right.
Yeah, so that's the rapture. That's when people get bodily resurrected.
No, the rapture is part of the resurrection, but it's not just the resurrection. Old Testament saints are going to be resurrected later on. The rest of the dead didn't live until after the 1,000 years. You got other statements like that. Furthermore, you said this was in heaven and they're clothed in white, which means they don't necessarily have to have glorified bodies at that time, but they could be rewarded at that time. And so the robes could relate to the rewards, because it says earlier in the book that the robes are the righteous acts of the saints.
Yeah, I think it symbolizes the righteous acts of the saints. It's not literally. Like, how can robes be literally righteous acts?
Yeah, not literally. Yeah,
right.
Represent. But okay. Let's say this is the rapture, right? So let's imagine that that's the rapture. The sun shall be darkened, the moon, Son of Man in heaven. So what is this? What is this then? If that's the rapture, so then so you're saying right at the time of the rapture,
the wrath begins.
And then Jesus, it seems like Jesus is coming right now, right? Like at the time.
Well, in your view, who populates the millennial kingdom?
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know why that's such a pressing or pertinent question for this.
Well, because it takes literal interpretation. Are people going to have babies and children? Is there going to be are non-glorified bodies?
Where is that in the Bible?
Wait.
It's in the Old Testament.
I know. I hear what you're saying. That's an important question, but let's just try to figure out on this chronology of Matthew 24. If this right, so the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give her light. So the rapture is going to happen a little bit after this, right? But then Jesus comes now, right, with this throne, Oh, so okay. So why does Jesus come with his throne?
What do you mean he comes with his throne?
He comes with his throne of glory, doesn't he? At this point,
In which verse?
hang on.
Okay, I think I explained it in the past. The second coming of Christ isn't just one momentary event. Just like his first coming, it encompasses an array of events. I think it starts at the rapture and it ends at Armageddon and the judgment, the Great White Throne judgment.
So Dip believes in a yo-yo. You're up, then you're down.
What do you mean?
Well, you get raptured at the end of the tribulation, but yet you come back down with Christ.
Yeah, that's what it says. He comes with his saints.
How much time? How much time from the time that you're taken up, in your view, and when he comes back down? How much time?
It should be approximately 3 years because you get raptured towards the midway point a little bit afterwards.
Okay, so you're mid-trib.
That's what the pre-wrath position is. It's not precisely mid-trib, but it's around that point.
Okay, all right. So what theologian best articulates your view? You say inductive study, right?
I'm not too well read on eschatology, but let me
yeah,
think.
no, I just wondered.
Pastor Stephen Anderson.
No.
Okay, but I thought he was post-trib, pre-wrath.
He is. That's what it is.
That's what he's describing.
That's what I'm
the
articulating,
view he's
But that's not
describing.
how SFT views it.
No, I agree with SFT. I think he does view it the same, does he not? I
No,
haven't
he
watched
don't.
too much of his stuff, but
And that's why I asked you. SFT doesn't believe that there's going to be people repopulating on the earth.
what? Okay, wait, what does this have to do with proving the timing of the rapture? again?
Because if you remove all believers, right, then that means nobody can have sex.
Again, look. This is an inductive line of reasoning that operates under the presupposition that people will have to do that. Now, I don't know about that. I don't know. Where's that in Scripture?
No, I understand you
saying
don't
you're
know
wrong.
that,
No,
but
but wait, Layman, because he's pre-wrath, right? So during the wrath period, there could be people who get saved, and then during that period, then those people would be the sheep at Matthew 25, and then they would be able to have children in the millennium.
but when do they get removed?
They don't get removed. They just survive the tribulation. They survive it. Then they're
Okay, all right.
gathered.
All right, yeah,
Get it?
you're right. That's a better, but that's not the same view as SFT.
Well, again,
SFT.
I'm not sure.
again,
not sure
guys,
what his view
proving
is.
that doesn't prove the timing of the rapture. That's a completely separate line of
I
reasoning.
know.
that
I
gives-
just want to make sure I understand that you're basically arguing for mid-trib rapture.
yeah, about the
You're
mid-trib
not
point.
out. You're not arguing for post-trib, pre-wrath. That's a
Well,
different position.
Okay, post-trib, the tribulation period goes by different terms depending on which view you take. In pre-trib, the tribulation is in reference to the whole Daniel's 70th week. In pre-wrath, the tribulation is just the first 3.5
Yeah,
years.
yeah, I know. So you
3.5,
could
yeah.
even argue that you're pre-trib if you argue that way. I understand that argument, but
No, that's not true.
He's not pre-trib. He's pre-wrath.
yeah, it
That's
is
the
true.
thing.
Let me tell you why. The word tribulation doesn't refer necessarily to the whole 7 years. Some people
No.
make the distinction between the Great Tribulation as being the last 3.5.
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
So you
That's
could
what
say
he's
you're pre-Great Trib, and it's another way to say pre-wrath.
Yeah, sure. And I think this is one of the better proofs for pre-wrath is defining the wrath. Like, when does the wrath begin? If you define that from Scripture, then you get the timing of the rapture.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
go. When does the wrath begin?
I think one of the arguments is in Revelation 6, where it says, one of the saints that are slain, they say, "How long, Lord, until you avenge our blood on the earth?" That suggests that the Lord wasn't responsible for the first 6 seals and the destruction thereof, right?
Then who sent the horses?
It's the devil. It's the Antichrist. It's his
No,
destruction.
come on, man. Come on, bro.
That
Really?
one.
And who allows the devil to do that?
Yeah, God's permitting, but that doesn't mean he's actionably engaging his wrath on the world.
But the
That would be like
restrainer
saying,
is not removed till when?
what is the restrainer?
Wait. Hold on. Let's just look at these. Let's look at these four horsemen. They seem to be from God, man. They don't seem to be from the devil.
Well, where does it
Especially
say
since
that?
Zechariah,
The lamb
Zechariah
opens
4.
the seals. Yeah, we'll go there in a sec. But the lamb opens the seals, and then the four horsemen come, right? And then God is commanding them, right? The beasts, or somebody commands them. The beast commands them, right?
Yeah, I don't think God's commanding, or God sanctions. He allows the wrath to occur, and the seals represent His allowance of that. But it's not him. It's not His wrath like it is after chapter 8.
Well,
That's the
wait. Hold on a
distinction.
sec. Because
An
Jesus is the one opening the
intensification of
seals.
wrath doesn't mean it doesn't wrath before. People
It's
start
not only
dying
that. It's
when
not
the
only that.
seals
It's the
are
fact
start
that
being opened.
yeah, and it's not only that. It's the fact that Jesus is the one opening the seals, right? That's the thing about it.
Yeah, the
The
seals.
Yeah,
lamb.
and
I don't think
when
the
an
seals are
emperor
literal.
when
I
it
don't think they're literal.
when an
No,
emperor
but
opened the seal, that means that he's executing the contents of what's in there. You know,
yeah.
so
Well, go to
you
verse.
pop one
Go to
seal, a
verse.
little bit gets released. You pop another, it's unfolding.
Wait, scroll down. Then go to verse
I think
12.
what
I
Dead's
think.
saying is God won't actually like be controlling the Antichrist and like all of his actions and all that. I think that's what
Yeah,
he's trying to
go
say.
down to the verse where it says, "How long, Lord, until you avenge?" Because I think that's important.
Verse 7, 1 and 2.
No, it's 6. It's chapter 6. It's before verse 12.
Just type in how long. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Habakkuk.
Oh, 6:10.
Verse 10. Verse 10. It says,
Oh yeah, there it is.
so the people are basically saying, "How long, Lord, until you avenge our blood? How long until you avenge what happened on the earth?" Which means God isn't responsible. Otherwise, why would they be looking for Him to avenge what happened to them? Doesn't make sense.
Because
Yeah,
during the time God allows Satan to rule on the earth, okay, God allows persecution of believers during that time, right? That and so we're not even persecution that happens today. We're not blaming it on God, but we recognize that Satan is not bound.
Right. Now look at now.
So
remember what happened
wait.
here.
Are you saying all these people here are killed in the seal judgments?
Yeah.
All these people here. All right. So none of them are from like before, right? None of them are from like today.
What do you mean today? No. This
people
is
are killed today for this, right?
Yeah, that's a
For the
future
testimony.
time period. That's not.
Yeah,
That's not
I
something that's
agree.
occurred.
Yeah.
No, but so everybody in this section is people who were killed during the seal judgments. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
correct. Yeah. Now go to chapter 8 and contrast the tribulation that occurred here with what God incurs as His wrath. It's completely different. It's like Him raining natural phenomenon, and you can see it's ascribed to Him. And you actually see the word wrath occur like 8 times, where it didn't occur before. I think like the end of chapter 6, which is interesting.
That's because during that particular time, it's the wrath on those that take the mark of the beast. So you have the general wrath that allows Satan to do his thing through the Antichrist in 2 different phases. As a man of peace and declaring war, and then the people get the mark of the beast, and then those people get targeted. So God targets those people with the mark of the beast. That's why the word wrath starts occurring in that way.
Well, the mark of the beast doesn't happen until chapter 13, right? That's the thing. Why are we?
Well, I think chapter 13 isn't chapter 13 a reiteration of the first 6 seals? I think it restates them in a different story.
Yeah, sometimes people say that about it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's different views about that.
I'm not too sure.
Is that the view? Yeah, I know.
The view I was taught was it's telescopic, but there are parenthetical statements. So in other words, the seven seals, the 7th seal becomes the seven trumpets. The 7th trumpet becomes the 7th bowls. Yeah. And so but you do have parenthetical statements like the woman, the child, the dragon, those things, those type of things to give backgrounds to the characters.
So it's retelling the same thing again and again. Is that the idea? Some people say that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Well,
or is that what you're saying?
I don't think that. No, I don't. I think it's an intensification because the target is different. There's a difference between people that are living during when the Antichrist first comes to rule, and you have opportunity, but the mark is not being offered. But then once the mark is being offered, God takes that to the next level.
Okay.
And he starts raining down specific forms of wrath on those people who took the mark.
Yeah, and I think with the mark thing, right? Because when someone takes the mark, that means there's like no chance for them, basically. I mean, it's sad, but the reality is that those people, they permanently have the wrath of God upon them, and so it's highlighted and it's heightened, and that's why it's kind of brought out in Revelation 13 and 14 that if you take the mark, you will be cast into the lake of fire.
I don't know. To me, it's like that's why I think of it sometimes as being like symbolic or something, because that sounds like a works-based salvation to me,
Well,
Whosoever receiveth the mark. Go ahead.
Well, Constables doesn't explain it, but he says that believers can take the mark, but they're still saved.
Yeah, Antonio told me the same thing. He was like, if we didn't get raptured and we were here, you're already saved, so you could take it. Like,
Yeah, I don't buy that. But there was an idea that God will take them home before they take the mark if they try to.
that's what I asked him. He said no, that if we were still here, a Christian could physically take it and still be saved. I was like, wow.
Well,
I don't know. That sounds weird to me.
It could be
Go
the
ahead.
case. It could be the case that at this point, like the supernatural is unveiled and everyone realizes that God is real and whatnot. But the people that are believers, obviously, they wouldn't sacrifice like their position in Christ to take the mark of the beast if they realize all this stuff is going on. Like they'd rather just die than have money for food.
Yeah,
But
sure.
maybe so I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of stuff going on, but
Now you're gonna have believers that are carnal during the tribulation also. So they're gonna be shooting up with heroin and robbing and pillaging and killing.
Yeah, and when people are faced with death, you never know what decision they make in that moment. So I see what you're saying.
that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I think wouldn't discount that, but
I just look at the things going around in the world right now, and we're going up for almost a mark of the beast type system with all the currency and digital stuff and all the microchips and Elon Musk Neuralink, and I don't know. I think there's something to it. I just see all the stuff played out in the world right now.
All those millennialists aren't trying to convince the premillennialists. Now, I mean, I have there's actually a really good and persuasive millennialist that I talk to sometimes, and he has other little disciples, and did already knows, but like, he now he doesn't have answers for everything, but I mean, at this point, it's like it's just him and what he believes, and then I got my premillennialism. And we're just kind of on two completely opposite sides.
wait, who is on our opposite side?
Well, like, it's the millennialists in the server. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess this is like very complicated and
It's eschatology. It's almost as confusing as like in the first century when they tried to like determine when the Messiah was going to come and line it up with Daniel's 70 weeks. I mean, it's confusing stuff, man.
My plan when I start formally debating this is dealing with the all meal, post meal, pre meal stuff first. Deal with all of them, and then once those views are dealt with, then go into more about the timing of the rapture and things like that.
Everybody will know about the Lamb because the unsaved will decide to wage war against him. Revelation 17:14. So I think it will be much more revealed than it is now. So everyone will know about the Lamb. So therefore, the mark thing. I don't know. It still seems like a works-based salvation to me. I understand if they know about it and they know the supernatural things are happening, so they're kind of like everything's in the open, right? But still, I mean, taking the mark still would be a work. Not taking it is a work.
Well, let's. I've done this before. Let's drive people crazy. All right, so go to the passage about the mark of the beast.
Okay.
It's this one.
All right.
This one.
So I'm gonna make the argument I don't believe this. But I'm going to make the argument that believers can still take the mark and they're still eternally secure. Disprove it.
That they
Believers can
could
take the
take
mark
the
and they're still
mark.
eternally secure.
Yeah.
Well, it says that they're all gonna be in the they're all gonna be tormented.
It says the smoke of their torment, right?
Smoke of
Yeah.
their
The smoke
torment.
of their torment is going to last forever. That means the consequences are going to last. It didn't say they're going to go to hell.
Well, I don't know if I would look at it. I don't know if I would argue from that route. I would say that's kind of like a.
I know.
annihilationist
We're
line of
just
reasoning.
this is just a thought exercise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let me argue on your behalf even better. I would say
All right.
just like all liars end up in hell, those that take the mark of the beast, their default is to end up in hell. But you know that believers are justified from all things, so they wouldn't end up in hell under that view.
But the
Right,
people
right.
that are called liars were ones that never believed the gospel at one, and therefore they're
Right,
it's
right. They
not
wouldn't be-
describing. It's describing their state after they're dead. It's not a statement
Mhm.
about living people.
Yeah.
Well, I think in
Yeah.
Ephesians and doesn't in Ephesians say that all that commit these things, or in Galatians as well?
No,
can be
it depends
framed
how
in
you
either-
take
either ways.
inheritance.
But inherit, inherit. But I mean, I agree that the inherit there is positional, but it's saying even in Ephesians and Galatians, it's saying that once you get saved, you're not one of those people. You're not them, you know?
Exactly.
So it's like, oh, so I see what you're saying. So these people here who take the mark, they're not going to be counted among those mark taking people because they're saved. Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, I'm saying that's a line of argument, but I don't think it's that convincing because
yeah.
and this is only one event. It's only one thing. You take it once, and it's outlining that the people that take it end up in hell. It's not like a
Yeah, I
list of
think too.
things.
It says those who take the mark or worship its image. So it's
Is it or and?
Both.
I think it's and. You have to do both.
or yeah, it's one. It's,
Worship the beast and receive his mark in his forehead.
Yeah. So so this could be a line of argument, but you know that could be perceived as the works-based salvation because what if you're a believer and you want to worship the beast? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. I don't see how you can escape the notion that this is works-based salvation, and so that's why I think it's symbolic. But go ahead.
Well, one way people have argued about it is that because it's going to be a time of extreme demonic activity, things are going to become more evident. In other words, you'll actually be able to tangibly know where people are lined up spiritually because of what it's going to be like. I mean, we're talking about a time that's never been like this on earth, where Satan and his demons are let out, you know, or I'm not let out, but we're unrestrained.
Yeah.
And so it's for a person to show a little bit of kindness during a time when the world's gone crazy probably is a great indicator that you're a believer, you know.
Also, I would say, when does this occur? Like, when does the mark of the beast occur during the 7-year period? That makes a big difference.
The 3.5 mark.
Does it say
that's
that?
when the man of sin reveals himself.
Yeah, but that doesn't say that's when he makes people take the mark.
No, it doesn't. It also
You might be right.
You
might be right.
Yeah.
there's
also,
a whole.
it says that he'll be revealed before he appears. You know, so it's like I don't know if the revealed thing is the same thing as when he actually appears.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, that is a possibility. Some people believe that the revealing idea means that there's going to be people that in the tribulation are going to know who the Antichrist is before he does that. Like,
yeah, and that's an argument for the pre-wrath. Is in Daniel 9. It says that he does the abomination of desolation 3.5 weeks, or 3.5 weeks through the 7-week period. So that's midway through. That's when you see the abomination of desolation, and then after that, in 2 Thessalonians 2, is when Christ comes for his saints. That's when the day of Christ.
Well, that's what we're saying, though. That's what we're saying. Is the revealed thing the same thing as this thing in Daniel 9?
Yeah,
You know
I would
mean?
say it is. If you cross-reference with 2 Thessalonians 2, that's when the day of Christ occurs after that.
Yeah, I know. The day of Christ occurs after the reveal, after he's revealed. But the question is whether revealed is the same thing as standing in the holy place.
Or is it the same thing as a departure? Because is the departure the rapture? Is it a
falling away.
rebellion, an apostasy? Yeah.
And there's also a whole side who think the mark of the beast isn't going to be a microchip at all. There's a whole belief system that thinks it's the symbol for Islam, and that it has to do with Islam. There's all kinds of views on it.
Yeah, I
They wear
don't
the-
pretend. I
They
don't
wear the
pretend to
swords and
know
that
what the
symbol on
mark
their
is.
head. Yeah, because they wear that symbol on their head, and it translates into 666. Basically, how they have their symbol and they wear it on their head and their arm.
Yeah,
That's why people think that.
I think that's an extremely weak argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's all kinds of
it's-
arguments for each verse.
Yeah,
you
there
can
are
bring up.
those theories about it. Yeah, there are those theories, but we should just stick with the text. I think for now, anyway. And like, all I'm saying is that mark of the beast thing seems like works-based salvation. So, and there's other things in the whole book of Revelation. Why would we take that book serious, like literally like that? It doesn't. To me, it's like, how could you possibly consider this to be literal? You know what I mean? It seems like it's entirely symbolic. Or
Well,
I think
the opposite of literal is not symbolic or figurative. The opposite of
True.
literal is allegorical interpretation. Remember, there's direct literal and indirect literal. Direct literal is contractual language. Indirect literal includes figures of speech. This is a letter. It's prophecy, and there are good indicators whenever you're dealing with figurative language.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on a second. Or go ahead. Yeah.
I've heard a good argument from Stephen Anderson, which says to interpret everything as literal unless it's obviously figurative, which is how we deal with people in real life. Like, I wouldn't interpret all of your words as figurative. That'd be annoying. So if it's clearly metaphor, then interpret it that way. But if it's not, then you err on the side of caution and say it's literal. Like, Revelation clearly has literal parts, right? Clearly.
That's what I believe.
Clearly.
Well, not 100% of it.
Clearly?
I mean, I think
Clearly,
clearly. Okay, clearly, John was standing on the island of Patmos and he saw Jesus. That's literal. Okay. After that, I don't know how much in this book can be clearly seen as literal. I don't know about that, bro.
I'll give you some examples, right? Jesus says, I am he that liveth and was dead, and I liveth forevermore. That's literal. In Revelation 20, it talks about the New Jerusalem. I will say that is also literal, most likely.
All right. Let's look at that. Revelation 20. So he's talking about, I mean, this is him having 19, a vision, right?
Yeah, 20 right now.
This is him having a vision. Oh, sorry. We're
21. It's 21.
21. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. So he's having a vision. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. And he just saw the old heaven and the old earth flee away from the throne, right? And now he sees the new heaven and the new earth. And the holy city comes down. Is this literal?
I would say so.
I mean, it sounds like, of course, it sounds like literal, and it could be somewhat literal, but it's also very symbolic too. Like, what's weird? Like how the city is like exactly like a cube. The city is like,
yeah. That's why I think it's literal, because it's quantifying every dimension of the thing. You don't do that when it's figurative. That's not really how you speak in figurative language. Like, do you quantify things precisely when you're trying to be figurative or metaphorical? Not really.
Sometimes they do.
Very rarely.
Like the 12,000 from this tribe, 12,000 from this tribe.
I would say that's literal.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. People think it's literal, but it's like I can't. Like, first of all, who are these people? The most of those tribes, we don't even know where they are anymore. They're gone. They're completely destroyed. Right? It seems like a better explanation for that would be that it represents the church. I don't get that. How anybody thinks that that's obviously literal. Like,
well, what about verse 4? What about 21:4? Is that literal? Besides God wiping away the tears from their eyes, that's obviously not literal. Like, he's not bringing a tissue to your eye and then wiping it. But
yeah, like this is like, okay, yeah, the idea that there's no more pain, no more sorrow, former things have passed away. I think it's literal that there's no more death or sorrow or crying, but
I think that's in the eternal state. There's going to be death and all of that stuff during the kingdom, during
yeah,
the first 1,000 years.
yeah.
So you
Well, the
guys don't
question
think
is,
a third temple is going to be built and the Antichrist will walk into it?
I believe that it will be.
Yeah, that's what I believe too. I see it happening right now on the news. You see it happening. They brought the red heifers over. The Temple Mount Institute's been talking about building it for years.
I've been preparing for my Jewish Life of Messiah class, and come to find out, if I'm understanding this correctly, they believe that there's going to be a Messiah that dies, and another Messiah is
Yeah,
going to bring the other one to life.
yeah. Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph. They're waiting on
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just look at the things going on.
Have you seen Anderson's? Again, I'm bringing him up a lot, but I just watched his documentary, one where it's like marching to Zion. That was quite revealing about what they believe about the end times. Like they describe their Messiah as pretty much exactly like the Antichrist.
Yeah, like a military. They're waiting on more like a military guy.
And well, the guy that I was reading in Toronto, you probably make a reference to this. Is I was reading Dr. J. Paul Tanner, who is Free Grace, but he's a heavyweight, and he was arguing that the Antichrist would be Jewish, and that the covenant, the 7-year treaty, it's going to be the Mosaic Law. That he's going to and you think about that, the Jews would get behind that, the Muslims would get behind that. The Muslims would love it. And then the Black Hebrew Israelites, and then all these other cults, the Sabbatarians.
Sabbatarians. Wow, I don't know. Sorry, I missed part of what you were saying. What's your point here? Like, I can't even send. Can somebody send Ex Fundamentalist the link? I can't send messages for some reason on the chat. Hey, can somebody do that? Like,
I just sent it, but I'm not a mod, so I don't think it will show up. Do you even have mods?
No, I don't. I don't know how it works. I don't know how to do mods and stuff, bro. But I'm just trying to figure out how to send a message to this guy with the link. Anyway, okay. Sorry, you guys were saying what were you saying, Charles, just now?
I was saying J. Paul Tanner believes that the Antichrist is going to be Jewish, and that the covenant that he makes with Israel is going to be the Mosaic covenant. He's going to bring back the Mosaic covenant, the sacrifices, and all of that.
Okay. But don't you guys even think that that Jesus is going to bring back the covenant, like the sacrifices and stuff
I believe the sacrifices will be brought back in the kingdom. And I do believe that
why would that
God
be,
is going to
why would that
why
be
would
required?
It be?
Yeah.
Because the temple, the cleansing, not for sin, for cleansing.
Yeah, they have to cleanse all their instruments with the heifers. They have to basically burn them down into ash, and that's how they cleanse all their instruments and the priest to walk inside there.
It's a ritual cleansing thing.
Yeah. And the heifer has to be perfect, no blemishes, can't have one gray hair or nothing. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yo, Ex Fundamentalist, can you see that link? I hope you can see it.
I could see it, so he should be able to see it. Pin it at the top. Pin it at the top.
Michaels, can you pin it? Oh, okay, I'll pin it.
Yeah, they actually got all the heifers in Texas. Some little ranch in Texas.
Anyway, all right, Ex Fundamentalist here. Let's hear what he said. Ex Fundamentalist, talk to us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
One sec.
What's your view of all this?
That's Justin.
Yeah, it's Justin.
Oh, is it Justin? Oh, Justin. So wait,
I know
Justin,
that voice. I know that voice.
Didn't you go Universalist for a bit, bro? What's happening?
Well, I don't know what I believe, but I mean, it can be funny, but I'm just in search for the truth, really. But
Mhm.
one thing I find suspicious about Revelation is that it in chapter 6 seems to be so. You know how chapter 6 aligns with Jesus' teaching on the end times, like
Okay. Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we were just talking
yeah,
about. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And what I find interesting is everything from chapter 7 to midway through 19 seems to be all something Jesus didn't talk about. But the weird thing is the reason I had like the rapture and the second coming separated before was all because of this what is potentially just false prophecy in Revelation, because Jesus said that the when the stars fall
False
and the
prophecy
what
and revelation. What do
Yeah,
you mean by that?
that's what I
Are
was gonna say.
you
well
That's
calling the
at
Bible
least
false
here
Yeah.
at least
prophecy?
but
that's
no I'm
precursor.
saying if it wasn't written by John the Apostle, then it doesn't belong.
It
Do you
doesn't
And
believe
matter
I'm
that?
just
who it's written by.
well,
It's written by
it
John,
does
bro. It's
matter
written by
because
John. No, no, dude, come
if
on, man.
it's going under
Come
a
on, man.
false name, wouldn't you agree?
Well,
Well,
listen.
I just want
Anyway,
to
okay,
show
okay, 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 okay. So wait.
I just want to
So
show where my concern is. You don't have to
all
agree
right,
with
yeah,
me.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna ask you. Yeah. So what do you think in this book of Revelation doesn't line up with John, or what? What do you say?
So if you look at the end of Revelation 6, that's where Jesus says the rapture supposedly would happen at the same time as the second coming. That's where he says the stars will fall and they will see the Son of Man, and
But how
then
do
they
you
will
know
gather his
Matthew is
elect.
not false prophecy?
Well, I'm just telling you that
You're
they don't
just
line up. You
assuming
don't have
you're
to
assuming certain things, and then you're going to throw
stop
John
yelling
underneath
at
the
me
Wait,
bus.
and hear me out.
Don't.
Let's
No,
just
you
hear him
can't
out.
handle
Let's
that.
just hear
You
him out.
can't handle
I disagree strongly, but let's hear him out. So
What
what's your thing about this? So you're saying, okay, this is just like Matthew 24,
Right.
and then
It's
what? Then what's
exactly
the
like
problem?
Matthew 24, except
Okay.
in Matthew 24, after what happened, after the stars fall and the all that, they see the Son of Man. It says after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be dark and the moon shall not give its light, and then
Mhm.
they, will see the Son of Man, and that's where you then have the rapture, and
Yeah.
that's also it aligns with Paul that same way. He says that people assume that the wrath is talking about the tribulation, but that's not true. If you look at the wrath, we're not appointed to wrath because we're not appointed to the judgments that happen
So
after
you're
missing the
assuming
rapture.
pre-trib's not true.
No, I'm not assuming anything. I'm just telling you the
Wait.
problem seems to be that the book of Revelation seems to create a bunch of confusion because it has the second coming seemingly at the end of chapter 19, but it also has all this information in between which doesn't fit an actual timeline, because
It's
at the end of
Wait,
a lot
dude,
Revelation
of
dude.
6,
Hold on
people.
a second. Hold on a second. So
listen,
wait,
at
you
the
know what?
end
You know
of
what?
the
I just want to. Okay, hold on. You know what I wanted to say? This part. Where is this part in Matthew? In Matthew 24?
at the same
Is that
at
what
the
you're
same
saying?
right, that's where Jesus says he comes again. But then Revelation 7 through 19 seem to or through the middle, through the first half of 19, seem to be just adding a bunch of information that confuses the issue. It
Mhm.
doesn't actually
I mean,
fit
he
a timeline.
confuses
That's the
you.
problem.
He
Well,
confuses you.
I
If
well,
God's word confuses
you
you,
certainly
you
don't
don't call
know
it God's word.
exactly.
Well,
Well,
all you got to do
listen,
is formally
everyone's
debate me.
discussing this.
Take a position, and we can formally debate it.
Everyone's
Wait.
discussing this because the confusion is coming probably from
I'm
Revelation.
not
And
going
one,
to choose
No, well, this
Justin's
is the thing.
words
This is the
over
thing. Yeah,
God's
Justin.
words.
Yeah, this is the thing,
you
Justin.
don't
This is
know
the
that
thing,
it's
man.
God's word,
Hold on,
though.
Justin. Hold
Wait,
on.
what?
Let's just pause for a second. Just pause. Justin, I understand that you have this view, right? But the rest of us here, we just believe that everything in the Bible is true and we're trying to work it out. So that's what we're trying to figure out. But if you're
Right.
going to come with this other idea that, okay, well, if it doesn't line up, then it must be that this part's wrong or something. We don't have that option. We don't think like that. We don't have that theoretical
But what do you
ability.
do
You know?
if it doesn't line up? Like, what's the?
We
No,
kicked
because
Justin out the chat.
hold on.
Oh,
There's-
come
no,
on!
there's-
Why can't you
no,
just
wait.
have a civilized conversation with me,
No,
ever, Charles?
wait. Justin, the reason is that, I mean, we don't necessarily assume that it doesn't line up just because there's some things we don't get. We're trying to search it out, figure out what it means, you know. But you're taking this other view, which is that, okay, this appears to not line up, therefore I'm going to reject this part of the Bible. That's not something we don't. That's not an option for us. We don't do that. You know what I mean? So that's why. It's
Justin,
hard for
your
us to have
words,
this
Wait,
discussion.
sorry.
your
I'm
words
slow.
don't line up.
What I don't understand is how can there be a whole ladder? So, seemingly, according to Jesus, the end of the suffering or the tribulation ends with Revelation, with what is copied in Revelation 6. But Revelation says that it has a lot more suffering that comes after that.
Do
And not
you
only that,
believe?
but
Do you believe that Jesus said those things in Matthew 24? Yes or no?
yes. But I don't know if
Wait,
this is
hold on,
Jesus in Revelation.
Hold on, guys.
Could be another Jesus.
I'm a bit
Wow.
slow.
How could I know?
Guys, I'm a bit slow. Is he saying Revelation is not inspired?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I'm not saying.
That's the
that
thing. See,
it
this is
is
the
not
thing.
inspired.
This is the
I'm
thing.
saying it
Justin,
might not
Justin,
be
wait,
inspired.
Justin, listen, Justin. I respect you as a brother, and I love you. But it may be that if you're gonna continue to pursue this line of reasoning, it may be that you're not helpful to this discussion because none of us agree that that's an option. That is simply not an option for us. You know, when we think about the Bible, you know, you understand?
Yeah, I understand that, but what if it has to be an option? Is more my question.
No.
Why?
Because,
Why would
because
that
Justin,
What if Justin's not a human?
no, but Justin, I was gonna say, do you believe that Revelation is inspired by God?
I don't.
He's not
think
sure.
So,
He's not
but
sure. He's not
I
100% sure.
don't know.
Look,
How would I
dude,
know?
we don't take that route when we don't have an understanding of Scripture. We don't just say, "Oh, I don't know what this means. It's very cryptic. Therefore, it's not
No,
Scripture."
I've studied it
It's not.
more than any other book in the New Testament.
Yeah,
I find everything up
Justin
multiple
has studied
times,
a
and
lot of things. Justin has gone from free grace,
No, it's not.
dogmatic
Look,
in
I
certain
understand.
positions, into apostasy, and he has psychological issues
Look.
as well.
I get it. He studied. I'm not disputing whether he studied. I'm saying he just doesn't understand Revelation. He even said that himself. He says he doesn't. He can't make two heads of how that part after chapter 6 that reconciles with the events in Matthew 24.
Yeah,
Well,
but
maybe
this
you just
is
don't
this,
understand
if I give you the reason, then you'll say, "Well, we can't consider that option." But you don't actually answer my question. So why not answer my question instead of just?
What's your question?
Understand.
What's your question?
So if the end of if according to Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, that the Son of Man comes when the stars are falling and all the cosmic signs that happen at the end of Revelation 6, right?
Okay.
So
I'll answer it.
Okay,
Matthew 24.
let me
Matthew
finish my
24
Wait,
is not
stop.
chronological. It's topical. Move on.
All right, hold on. What was your question again? What was your question?
So if it happens at the end of Revelation 6, and then it's, to me, it seems clear that the seals come before the trumpets come before the vials, and the vials are said to be the last 7 plagues of God. Now, if that's the case, then it has the 3.5 years happening after they have already happened. You see what I'm saying? Like it says that
So what
and
are
it
you
also
saying?
has a 5-month period of scorpions and a bunch of stuff that's in between the second coming and another second coming in Revelation 19. So it doesn't make any sense.
Well, let me propose this to you first.
Do you understand what I'm getting at, Toronto? At least
I understand what
someone
you're
I
saying.
get what you're saying.
I'm gonna roll out.
Someone gets
God bless.
I don't know if we necessarily. Oh, you're gonna leave, Charles? Hold on a sec, bro. Where you gotta go?
Hold on a sec.
Anyway, it's all good.
I I'm not interested in that discussion. I respect your channel, but I'm not interested in that discussion.
Yeah, it is kind of. Well, hold on a sec, because it is true, like Justin.
You know,
that
Charles,
I was
I'm
you to,
human too, believe it or not, and
You are
I'm just-
human, but what if you're not a human?
Well, all
Oh,
I'm trying to get at is, you know, I have my own struggles, and
I
for you to
understand
just
that.
dismiss them and throw me out like a piece of tissue is just
Whatever, dude. We've unblocked you and given you multiple chances on my channel, and you do the same behaviors. There's certain neurotic things that you do that we can't help you. You have to go get medical attention for those things. We can't
medical
help you in
attention
that.
isn't going to solve my theological
All
issues.
right, Justin.
it might.
hold
Let me give you an explanation, Justin.
Okay, go.
Can I give him a plausible explanation?
Yeah,
Go
go.
ahead.
In Matthew 24, the second coming of Christ, what we describe as the second coming, is not just one momentary event. Like his first coming encompassed the whole array of events, including his birth, his earthly ministry, his death, resurrection, all of that. Likewise, his second coming is the same. The rapture is the beginning of his second coming, and it concludes with his judgment of all the nations in the great white throne. That's a very simple
So-
explanation.
Then that you still have to deal with if you're saying the rapture
Okay.
is not in Matthew 24, right?
Justin,
rapture,
just
yes.
become pre-wrath and don't deny the word of God.
I was pre-wrath, but I realized there was a problem even with pre-wrath.
And what's that?
Did you prove that to SOT?
Problem. SFT doesn't talk to me. He says I'm a reprobate. But
All right, what's the problem? What's the problem?
The problem is that if you read into Revelation 7, that's where they'll say the rapture happens. But the problem is that they'll say that the rapture is happening there because they see the stars falling in Matthew 24, right?
Yeah.
And they see the second coming. But see, Jesus doesn't come back until Revelation 19 in the book of Revelation.
No.
So how can
Justin.
he come back in Revelation 7 and
Justin,
Revelation
Justin.
19?
Recapitulation.
Hold on,
I don't even
Justin.
agree with that view, but that's one plausible answer. It's recapitulation. It's a
what's
recap.
that?
Bro, layman's, wait.
Yeah, but
Hold on.
it doesn't work because
Wait.
the trumpets have to come after the seals if you just read it, and
is
the
my mic
vials have
not
to come
working?
after the trumpets.
Yeah, Did, your
Hold
mic's
on.
working.
Did, go ahead, Did.
Dude, I just explained to you the beginning of the second coming. The second coming is not one instantaneous event. The beginning of the second coming of Christ is his rapture, and it concludes towards the end of it is Armageddon when he comes to make war with his nations. That's Revelation 19. So you're thinking of the second coming as one instantaneous event. So when you see when he gathers the church in Revelation 7, you see that as a different coming, and now there's a third coming in Revelation 19. That's not true. It's the same second coming of Christ. One is the day of Christ, and one is Armageddon. It's the same second coming of Christ. It's not a problem.
But what do you do with all that happens in between it?
Hold on. So then after this thing, so after this, the Son of Man appears in heaven. Is this the rapture? Is that what you're saying?
Matthew 24, yes. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
rapture when he gathers his
That
11.
happens.
Okay. And then the actual Matthew 25, that's Matthew 19. Is that what you're saying? Matthew 25 here at the end?
Matthew 20, I don't know if Matthew 25 has anything to do with Armageddon, but it does describe the end judgment, which is after Armageddon, is it not?
Oh, so you're saying this is the same as Revelation 20.
Let me tell you what the problem with that situation is that you still have the Jesus coming back, because I used to take that exact view. I had my own view on it, and the problem is that you still have Jesus coming back in the clouds before that we're raptured. So he's coming back in the clouds, and then we're raptured.
Wait, what?
And it says go scroll up in Matthew 24.
Coming in
You
the
meet him in
clouds.
the clouds. How's that a problem?
Right. Well, because it's happening at the same time as what happens seemingly in Revelation 19, but also seemingly in Revelation 6.
How do you gather
See what
that?
I'm saying?
What?
Well, because let me read it. One sec. Let me pull it up on my screen. It says, so if you look at all of the occurrences, right?
What are you reading?
Yeah, I'll read it out of the King James. I know you like that.
Well, what are you reading? What are you reading? What?
I'm looking for it. It's in Matthew 24. I'm just looking for where it says. It says, let's see here, verse 29, or also verse 28 as well is important, but also verse 27 at that. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth unto the west, even so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And right before that, it's talking about don't believe any secret ideas of a coming of Christ. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So that's you get in Revelation 19.
What?
Now,
That's how you're building your theology there?
No. I'm saying it matches the language of Revelation 19 with the birds feeding on the carcasses. And you can get that also in Luke, the end of Luke 17, if you don't think that's talking about that. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give its light, and the stars and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then, so notice the sign of the Son of Man happens before he gathers all the elect. Says, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather his elect from the four winds. So this is all happening. He descends, and it's the same thing he says in Thessalonians. He says, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and the voice of an archangel, and the trump of God.
Yeah.
The dead in Christ shall rise first. So it's the same language.
But this doesn't say anything about dead people.
Right, but I assume that it's talking about the same thing because it says his chosen, and
Dude, Justin, I don't see any problem here. I think you just sound confused to me. That's what it sounds like.
The problem is that this is happening in Revelation 6 and in Revelation 19 somehow.
Is this your first encounter with Justin?
No, I don't think so. I think we talked a long time ago. At least I heard him talk.
All right. Okay. All right.
So how do you see what I'm getting at, Toronto? How can Revelation 6, which is the sixth seal, right? It's the sixth seal. And
if you believe that,
right?
I see what you're saying.
If you read it literally, it seems clear that the last 7 plagues. I mean, it literally says it. The last 7 plagues are the 7 vials, which happen before, or which all happened before Revelation 19. So somehow the all the trumpets, 1 seal, and all the vials have to be fit in between Revelation 6 or Matthew 24 verse. I know it's
no. It could be It could be the sign, because it's like all you see here is that the sign of the Son of Man is in heaven, right? The sign. So maybe that's the same thing as when the sky gets rolled up like a cloud, like a scroll or whatever.
Well, my first suggestion would be that it literally says about this. It says like separately, I think, about the sky getting rolled up like a scroll there.
But, let me just conclude with this because I got to go. But I think you just built. I think you built. Justin, you built the interpretation that this somehow aligns Revelation 19 with 6 because of that verse, wheresoever the eagles are.
All the things that come before it also align. It's pretty well known that
align with what?
Align with the teachings in Matthew 24. All the 6 seals align.
Yes, they do.
Order.
I agree with that.
Right.
I'm just saying you imported the view that Revelation 19 is somehow in there, and that it's like mixed in. That's your theology. I don't think that's actually in the text.
Yeah, because you're saying. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. And then from that, because you have no way to grasp how that reconciles, you just abandon the book of Revelation as God's word. That's a very weird way to interpret scripture.
That's like what? It's a leap of logic. It's a major leap of logic, Justin. Like you're just assuming that this is the same thing as Revelation 19. But why would you assume that? Why assume that?
Well, because it says the exact same thing.
So how does that logically prove that it's the same time? It says wheresoever the eagles are, there shall or whatever, something like that. The carcasses will be gathered or something.
So it's talking about Jesus coming back in the clouds. It's the same thing. I mean, and it talks about the birds feeding on their flesh. It talks about all the same things, but Revelation has
No,
inserted.
No, it doesn't talk
chapter
about
7
all the same things.
to the
dude.
middle of
I don't know.
chapter
Yeah,
19.
it doesn't
Dude, you're
seem like
just making this up in your head, man. This is
No,
like
it
really
does.
weird.
Look, read it.
No, it says one likened phrase, which is a generalized phrase. Like it doesn't actually mean anything particular to Revelation 19.
yeah.
And then you're saying
So
that
Jesus coming back in the clouds isn't
No,
the same
wait.
thing.
It might not be. It might not be. This doesn't say. It says like, look. It says the heaven opened and the white horse comes,
Right.
and he comes down, right, clothed in vesture, dipped in blood. Doesn't say anything about actually the clouds here, does it? I don't think so. It doesn't.
that's when Jesus comes
necessarily
down.
have to
It
be
does.
the same
It
thing.
does in Revelation 1 because it says, I don't know if it says it in 19, but when it says about he comes in the clouds or whatever, and
they
every eye will
that
see him.
pierced him shall mourn. That's about his second coming when he raptures the church.
Right, that's just referencing Zechariah though.
Yeah, but that's when he comes. That's when the nations mourn in Revelation 6, where they see the great day of his wrath has come, and they mourn and they hide themselves.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
think,
even if you don't
you're
have an
me-
explanation, you shouldn't say this isn't scripture. That's a really weird way of like understanding the Bible. Maybe
Yeah,
you just
dude,
don't know.
Why
It's
are you
assumed
jumping
what-
to this idea? Why are you assuming that this is the same thing as Matthew 24? This event here in Revelation 19. Why are you assuming this is the same thing as Matthew 24:31?
Well, because it talks about the birds and their flesh. It talks about Jesus coming back in the clouds. It talks about
yeah, it could be
it
the
talks about a
birds in the
resurrection
flesh.
and
Hold on, the birds in the
20.
flesh thing, man. What? There's no resurrection in Matthew 24.
20 and 20, and it's also worth mentioning
But
that
there's no resurrection in Matthew 24 though. So why think that those things are the same thing?
well,
you
a
know?
lot of people would say there is a resurrection there, but the thing is, if
That's
you
the
cross,
thing, that's the
if
thing,
you,
you're
if
just-
you cross compare Matthew 24 with Mark 13 and Luke 21 and the Pauline epistles, then there is a rapture there, because you just agreed that the Lord himself shall descend with a shout and with the voice of an archangel and the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first.
No,
And
wait. Matthew 24 doesn't
Paul-
say about a trumpet, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Does it say? Does it? Does it say about a trumpet here?
Yeah, it does. It says in verse 20 or 31. And it also
Oh yeah, a great sound of a trumpet. Yeah,
It
all right.
also-
But that
the-
doesn't.
the-
That's not
the-
necessarily the last trump. The last trump. That's what Paul says in Matthew in First Thessalonians, right? The last trump.
right, he says the last trump, and also it's not somehow not the last trump if you make it Revelation 7. Also, another objection might be if you split up the resurrections into two different resurrections, one at the end of Matthew, or sorry, at the
Oh,
end
why?
of Revelation.
There's no resurrection. There's no resurrection in Matthew 24. I don't know. Like this is the thing.
Not
This is what you're
Matthew,
doing,
not
bro.
Matthew. I'm saying. Let me finish what I was saying. I'm saying if there's a resurrection at the end of the, whatever is going on in Revelation, in Revelation 20, right? There's a resurrection there, but some people will say there's also a resurrection in Revelation 7, which happens before.
Dude, come on, man, bro. You're just like, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
It
You're
says
just
there's only
confusing.
3 resurrections: Christ the first fruit, afterward they that are Christ is coming,
Wow,
then
dude.
the end.
Wow. Here we go. Now you're
Those are
bringing
the
in
3
this other thing.
resurrections.
Wait.
Dude.
1 Corinthians 15. That's just talking about the order that the
I
first
know,
Right.
That's like a
resurrection
Let's
different
take
thing.
place.
That's like not even talking about
2
that. Man.
resurrections for that.
No,
Well, he
Yeah,
also
four
said there's multiple
resurrections
Jesuses too. It's only one Jesus.
Right.
Come on,
Yeah.
man. Come
I've
on,
just
man.
seen a lot of
No, I'm
channels
not talking
doing that
about
lately.
multiple Jesus. I'm saying Paul talked about multiple Jesuses. He said if
Oh, you said you weren't even sure if it was the same Jesus in the book of Revelations. That means
Right. I'm saying it could be another Jesus, as Paul talks about.
I don't know what other
Come on,
Jesus
man.
it would
Come
be.
on, man.
Wait.
Paul
So
talks
which
about
one is
another
it?
Jesus.
Wait. So which one is
Oh,
it? Is it?
another Jesus? He's not talking about like when the prophet when the apostle sees Jesus. He's not thinking of another.
No, but
Jesus.
it's not even proven that this is actually John.
Come on,
could
bro.
just be someone-
Come on, man. Look, dude.
There's
We
many
don't play
false
that. We don't
prophets,
play
man.
that, man.
Wait,
No,
wait,
man, we don't
Justin,
play that.
right? Like
Yeah.
Justin, right? So it says in the beginning of Revelation that this was written on the island of Patmos. We know historically that John was exiled to Patmos after his time of being an elder in Ephesus, which he wrote to. and it's
It
probably one of the
literally
last.
says his name is John. It literally
Yeah.
says that his name is John. Like, why would we think anything else? Why would we think that? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, look, dude, you can't listen, Justin. You can't. You have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God, right? If he's the Son of God, then his word is true. Everything in this book is true, man. Nothing is wrong in this book. Not one word. You know?
How do we know we have the right books though?
No,
Wow,
look, Justin.
dude.
Well, hold up.
Wow,
I'm just
bro.
being realistic.
I-
I don't.
look,
I don't
I
know how I
understand.
can just
No,
accept.
Justin, I
if there's
understand,
a
but look,
false
there's
prophets
actually
out there.
look, Justin, I understand, right? But here's the thing: Revelation actually provides you basically nothing new. Revelation is a backtrack to the old.
Slow down, because Revelation 7 to Revelation 19 are all new things.
No, because here's the thing, right? We
Mm.
know we have a basic idea of how it's going to go down, but what Revelation does is it takes you back to the Old Testament. It hyperlinks a lot of Old Testament texts, a lot of concepts, and it's inspired. It's clearly inspired if you read through all of it. You know, God actually made this book.
And what would you do with all the references to First Enoch in it? Like, what do you do with all that?
What references are there? If there are
The whole
any,
book
then
is
they're very
basically a
vague.
plagiarized First Enoch.
No, it's not a plagiarized Enoch. Enoch is talking about like the time of the flood, and when like Enoch is completely wrong. Like you and I would agree, it's completely wrong. So I
Yeah.
see no
That's
no
why I'm
references.
suspicious of 4 books in the Bible.
4 books of the
Jude,
Bible.
First Peter, Second Peter, and Revelation all are so plagiarized, or they're so drawing from First Enoch. Paul said to avoid
Wow,
Jewish
dude.
myths.
Wow,
Paul
bro.
said
How are they
avoid
drawing?
Jewish myths,
How are they
though.
drawing? How are they drawing from first? That's so ridiculous. Anyway,
Well,
look. You
they
know what?
li-
Look,
quote him
dude.
over
You know
and
what? It's
over.
okay. It's okay, Justin. It's okay. Look, we're getting to round 12 now. I'm probably gonna wrap it up. Justin,
I want to say I appreciate at least hearing me out. I know you guys think I'm crazy, and
I don't
I
think you're
am
crazy.
crazy.
I don't think you're crazy.
I don't think you're crazy, but I think you're a heretic. And
I
this
just
is the
want
thing.
the truth.
You're
Man.
This is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing, Justin. This is the thing. Heresy is a work of the flesh. Okay, so what's going to happen with you is it's going to make you more and more confused. The longer you pursue this line of thinking, it's going to make you more and more confused, and you're going to get more and more fleshly, and you're just going to lose the plot. So the best idea I would advise you would be to return to a more like standard way of thinking of the Bible where it's all true and just we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out what all this stuff means. I understand it's
Yeah.
confusing. I'm with you, man. I'm confused by it too, the eschatology stuff.
Yeah.
But just because you're confused doesn't mean you throw out books of the Bible. That's not legit, man. That's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not about throwing things out. It's about figuring out the truth to me.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with adding or throwing things out. We were handed down like most of the books that, in my opinion, create most of the prophetic problems are all the ones that seem to draw from First Enoch the most, which is weird to me. And it's
They don't
worth
draw from
considering.
First Enoch. Look,
Yeah.
dude, how did they draw? They don't draw. The thing
Dude,
is, look,
show me.
First Enoch seems to be drawing from them because it's like so much more wild, you know. But I understand, like, people think First Enoch is like pre-New Testament or something, you know. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but I don't think they draw from First Enoch. Like they don't have all the wild stories of the First Enoch thing. They just have like a few little similarities, a few parallels. That's it, you know. Why do you think they draw from First Enoch? Why do you think that?
Like could you show me a passage that's similar?
Yeah, give me half a second, but I would just point out right away that Jude quotes from the first chapter.
Yeah,
of
it
Enoch,
quotes
like,
supposedly.
Right. But he says, he
like I say,
prophesied to,
I don't
and it quotes
necessarily
twice from there
believe.
actually, but
I don't necessarily believe that the book of Enoch that we have today precedes this book.
I don't believe
And
all
secondly-
of the book of Enoch does.
Okay, and also secondly, the other thing is he doesn't say that he quotes from the book. He says that Enoch prophesied this. He doesn't say about the book. He's not talking about the book. He's saying that Enoch prophesied this, and he, through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, is able to tell us Enoch's prophecy. But he doesn't say that this is from the book. and I'm not sure that book precedes this book. I don't think that's necessarily like proven by anybody who's analyzing these books. You know, they'll claim that, but it's not clear. So I don't know.
Yeah,
There's definitely a lot that's not clear. Let me grab a book one sec.
but also like with the Enoch quote, if you read the book of First and Second Enoch, there's actually nothing. There's nothing like this. There's like a vague reference to it, but you don't find this quote in the book of First and Second Enoch. So Enoch was
Which
a
quote?
prophet.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, the second book is highly contested.
Yeah,
It's definitely even being real.
The second section.
Yeah.
The second book is definitely not real.
Yeah. Well, you know, like, with the first book, right? When it's like, there's nothing
first
like
book
this.
or first section.
First. I mean,
it's in the first section. This is in the first section of the first book, right?
Yeah.
This
the
quote,
Jude
supposedly.
quote is
Yeah.
So whatever. Let's say like I don't know that even that first section of the first book, it can't be shown to precede this book, or that there is no alterations to the text. I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah,
you couldn't.
It definitely couldn't for sure be seen. The bigger problem I think is that these books draw from concepts and like they're very anti-Paulinian. Like Paul is saying, avoid these things, avoid Jewish myths. And Second Peter is going into saying that angels were locked in Tartarus.
Bro, but come on, man.
No,
what do you mean? What do you mean, bro? What are you trying to say? That just because he said that's a Jewish myth?
No.
Peter said that
because it's in Jude. Or I mean,
Dude,
it's in Enoch. He got that from Enoch.
No, he didn't get it from Enoch, man. He didn't get it from Enoch.
No, Justin, right? Like, okay, when he's talking about Jewish myths, he's talking about like actual mysticism and like angel worship that they were doing at that time period. Like there's very specific contextual stuff he's talking about in First and Second Timothy, and so he's not talking about like just any stories from the Old Testament, because what Peter said could have like it is true. Right, what he said. Yeah, like
he got it from Enoch, though.
No, look, he didn't get it from the book of First Enoch. I don't think it was circulating like popularly at that time. Even if it was, right, he would have gotten it from God. Okay, I believe it was inspired. So
yeah, I mean, there's that line in First Enoch. Okay, that exists. It's very similar to this one. Like I say, we don't know that book in its entirety preceded Jude or Peter, and yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't assume that. And also, when Jude says this, he doesn't say that it's from the book. He just says that prophesied it. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go there.
At best, what we have are probably folk tales going around that that God he put in his book in Jude and Peter, and they were accurate. But that doesn't mean that the whole book is accurate. He's not validating the whole work. Just like when Paul quotes from a philosopher in Acts 17, that doesn't mean he's validating the whole book. He's just drawing like principles from it. Right. And so that's the idea. There's no reason to discount these books because they get some stuff, you know.
Well, and Enoch wasn't even more.
Read the book of First Enoch, you'll see how much these 4 books are super drawn from ideas in them. It's hard to avoid.
Yeah, but you got to figure Enoch wasn't written by the same author. It was written over like periods of time. It wasn't the same author.
I'm talking even if you remove the section that obviously is overly drawing to Jesus and is obviously not, it probably did not. I don't see how it could have ever come before Jesus, and then calls Jesus Enoch, of course. The second section, I'm not even talking about the second section. I'm talking about everything before and after it. I don't think the second section should be taken seriously.
Yeah. Well, the first section either. Why should you take the first section seriously? Why? Because that one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I don't think you should, and it's weird to me that Jude and
So
Peter
then
were
don't assume
in Revelation.
that Peter and Jude are taking that book, that particular book that we have now today. It doesn't say that they're quoting from that book. Our Bible doesn't say that they're quoting from that book.
Right,
And
but where can you think
assume
of
that.
any places in the Old Testament that has the idea of the spirits in jail or spirits in prison, or the idea of that casting them down to Tartarus and holding them till the day of judgment? I can't think of a
No,
single
no, I
place in
don't
the
think
Old
there's
Testament.
anything in the Old Testament about that. But I mean, the fact is, we know that there were those sons of God in Genesis 6. You know, we wonder what
Right.
happened to them. That's what people mostly assume, that he's talking about that. Anyway, look, you know what? Interesting talk, but I'm gonna wrap it up today, guys, because it's been a couple hours now, and
Yeah.
conversation's kind of going all off in some weird directions. So anyway, it's been a long talk, but this is good. I'm glad we learned some stuff today. We made some progress. Justin, I hope you'll consider this in a more, like, be more, a little bit more. I don't know what to think of it. Like, your view is very, like,
Heretical.
yeah, it's heretical.
I would
clearly.
call it. I would call my views something of just a journey, because I'm just looking for truth, and I don't really know. Like, just because a bunch
I don't
of
think
people
you are.
bunch up, and I think I am.
No, because
I don't-
when you start to go there, when you start to go to this place where you doubt the Bible in your search for truth, like, why do you believe any of the Bible at that point? You know, if you're gonna say that some of this stuff is true, but some of it might not be, well, where do you draw the line? What do you think is true and what isn't? You know, that's the problem.
But it's also true that all of those books I mentioned, except for First Peter, for the most part, were highly contested throughout church history.
Oh my gosh, dude, come on, bro.
Well, I'm
Come on.
just
not
making
highly,
the,
not highly
Revelation,
contested
Jude,
throughout.
and Second Peter have been pretty highly contested.
Yeah, so
Dude,
is James,
wait.
so is Revelation. Well, anyway, bro.
Wait,
anyway.
Yeah, I said
Justin,
Revelation,
would you,
Jude, Second Peter.
Justin, would you throw out the book of James?
I can't think of a reason to.
It's highly contested.
Highly contested.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying based on the fact that it's highly contested, therefore it's not true. What I'm saying is that our Bible didn't just fall from heaven, and it's not so simple as just because we have 66 books in it today, that makes it the ultimate truth.
Yeah, and neither the Old Testament also wasn't just given from heaven. People wrote it over hundreds of years, right? And so, but Jesus validated it, and so it's the same way with the New Testament. He's gonna validate it through whatever means he does, right? And so, I do believe that the 66 books, it's the end of the canon for the church. Right now, I don't need any more, and I definitely don't want to take anything out, because Revelation, which you deny, says that if you do that, then you're going to be cursed, right?
Well, Paul said to curse not, so there you go.
He literally cursed.
Oh, I know, and that's why it's in contradiction with Paul.
Oh man, come on. Anyway.
God doesn't keep his own rules, guys. I guess
it's okay. All right, you know what, Justin? You should come on here one day, and you and I can discuss these things privately, or something, or like not privately, but like, you know.
I enjoy conversations with you, Toronto, because you're patient and you actually don't hit me in the face for thinking a new thought.
It's okay. Yeah. I do want you to come out of these views, but I understand. Like, I'll talk to you about it. But anyway, we'll do it another time. Come on, we'll talk about it. And Peaceful Banana and James, thanks for coming on. I hope you guys will come on again. Okay. We can continue this, because although we did cover a lot of ground and learned a lot, I hope. I don't think we haven't really answered many of the questions that we were asking, right? So, or we got more questions now, right?
It's gonna get even more confusing when you factor in 2 Thessalonians 2, because that's stuff that's never been
really clear. I'm telling you, if you get rid of that book of Revelation,
guys, just subscribe, like the video, watch more content.
I made a video about it. You should. I should send it to you.
All right, send me the video. All right, we'll talk
Yeah,
about
well,
it though.
Let me
All
send.
right, so-
let me get the link.
Thanks for coming on, you guys, and thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you gained something from this, and talk to you soon. And God bless you, and thanks for watching Toronto Bible Study.
All right, studying
Hallelujah.
the Bible with
All right.
Toronto. See you guys.
Yeah. See you.
Okay, 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 okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike, Sam, Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you want to support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike, Sam, Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.